friends, Fever fans, welcome back to another Fever replay. Today's sponsor, as always, is the love of the game. If you like doing something but no one will pay you, do it for the love of the game. Once again, my name is Chris Ord, and we are joined by my lovely and unforgettable host, Keisha Gallagher. Say hi, Keisha.
Hi.
Nice.
Keisha.
Oh, you got me. All right. So how you doing? How you doing today, Keisha?
I'm doing really well. Thank you so much for asking. How are you this fine evening?
I'm doing good. I'm excited as ever. We are sitting here on the precipice of the new season. We finally got the preseason behind us. We've taken our vitamins. We have our final roster-ish, unless we pick someone up mid-season. But we got a lot to talk about. But before we get started with the nitty-gritty, I have a question for you, my friend. Are you ready?
I'm all ears.
Okay, good. My question is, so, what got you into the W? And why do you love it so much, presumably? I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I assume you love it. So tell us.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there were a couple of different shifts for me that brought me into the W. I mean, I am in general a women's sports fan. I like watching a variety of sport, but there was a moment in women's basketball when the league was becoming a thing where some of the greatest basketball players at that time were all going to be getting this opportunity. And I remember distinctly watching Lisa Leslie dunk for the first time. And it really shocked me that women could continue to play sports at that level. It made me excited for the future, and that really lit my interest in women's basketball. The next evolution of that was probably Diana Taurasi, and that was more when I was in high school. Seeing her play at UConn, I'd never seen anyone play basketball like that, not at that height, not with that strength and speed. So as soon as she was drafted, I immediately became a Phoenix Mercury fan, and that's where I am today. But I'd say a combination of Lisa Leslie, Candace Parker, Diana Taurasi, seeing those women play basketball in college and then in the W, I just wanted to continue to see where they could go and see what this league could become.
Incredible. I
How about
share
yourself?
a similar but very much shorter journey. Because I've always loved basketball. Grew up a huge Laker fan. Kobe, the late great Kobe, will always be a very special person to me, even outside of the game of basketball. But women's basketball, never. It wasn't a thing I even really tried. Growing up, I'd hear about it, you'd see things, and I'd be like, all right, cool, like, I'm glad things are going. Never really didn't want it to work. I was like, this is great. I like women. Women's sports are huge. My sister was was an amazing soccer athlete, so we grew up traveling with her. I still to this day love women's soccer more than I love watching men's soccer. I think there's a lot of different nuances to the game that I think are better on the women's side. So, I always had a lot of respect for women. I just never really watched the basketball women's side of the sport. And then I moved here to Indy a couple years ago, and then all of a sudden, everyone started talking about this Caitlyn chick. And even before we got her, I was like, let me check this out. And I started watching, and like, she's really good at basketball. This is incredible. And it was like she was like an ambassador for me to this really whole new version of the sport. Now that I have been baptized in the sport, it's a different version than the men have. One that I wouldn't say is inferior in any way. It's fantastic. I absolutely love it. It's extremely exciting. When we got Caitlyn, it was kind of crazy because being here in Indy, when this was happening, it was like finding out like a prince or a queen or someone is moving to your town and will be working there. which is like, that's crazy. Like, that doesn't happen. Celebrities don't like take the thing they're doing and move to your town. And still to this day, she's kind of sports royalty. She's pretty Gatorade, Nike. She's on the commercials, you know? You see her every day. So that was like
Oh, I've seen her.
pretty exciting stuff. And I was like, well, let me like give this W a try, you know? And last year was nuts and so much fun. And going live to the Fever games, absolutely insane. I've never really experienced that much energy in a sports arena before. And I was like, I'm all in on this thing. This is incredible. It's awesome. And I'm here for it. And I love it. And one of the things for me about the W that I really like, because the first thing, like anybody who's used to watching the NBA and someone goes, oh, you know, you should watch the women, then the first thing out of their mouths is, but they can't dunk. Right? Number one. I hear it all the time. For me, I have learned that really enhances the sport I'm watching. I love dunks. I will continue to love dunks. They're still over there in the NBA. You can see them every day if you like. But removing that adds so much nuance to drives, adds difficulty to layups, and it also, even the thing I didn't expect was watching the W is like super relatable to me as a middle-aged dude playing basketball that is not 8 feet tall. Like, what I see on the screen is way better than I could ever do. Like, I'm saying it's not achievable, but it's more relatable. It looks like the sport I'm used to, with people a height that is taller than me on average, but not that much. And they're not flying through the air at a level that I could never even imagine doing. And that all by itself, pretty cool. I like that. And I can see it and be like, oh, this is actually the sport I grew up playing, not the one I grew up watching, which is really interesting. And I don't know. We can dig into that later. But I love it too.
Well, I mean, a little bit about that, which is, I didn't grow up playing basketball. I actually grew up playing softball. My sister played soccer, so I also am a big fan of professional women's soccer and women's soccer in general. And I think there was a lot more support for women's soccer throughout the years, and just very recently, basketball is getting its turn. And there's lots of giants that a lot of these players are standing on, which is,
Yeah, absolutely.
which happens for most leagues. But I agree that watching women's basketball, whether it's college or the W or international, there is a relatability, knowing that they're not just giants who are strong and are dunking on everyone or blocking every layup. There is that element of finesse and styles and English on the ball. Not that men don't have that, but they don't rely on it as much. And the NBA is almost a completely foreign field to me now. I kind of fell out of it for a little while, and watching it recently for March Madness, I kept going, who's the point guard? They're all so big. Like, I couldn't identify a single position. Mm-hmm. It was wild. But I think that with the W, you get to see true guards, true forwards, and a combination of all those positions. Point forward is becoming a really popular thing for women. But I just, the excitement is just so different. And I'm more curious to see where the sport evolves for women than with the men's side of it right now.
Yeah, no, and it's interesting. There's a lot of talk about it, and it's just like there is not enough roster spots currently in the league for talented players. Like on the men's side, there's plenty. We have a whole G League of guys that are fantastic, that are better than all of their college counterparts that still are trying to get in there, you know. We are watching this thing evolve, and over the last couple years with this kind of increased exposure, interest, whatever it is, whatever this wave is, it almost feels like the public is demanding that the league evolve faster and in real time right now. And it's an extremely exciting thing to watch and be like, where are we going? What is this looking like? We just added 2 new teams, you know, like what is that going to do to everything? So, Keisha, we had our last preseason game against the Dream. It was good. It was a good game, actually. Yeah, I was hoping to like get like more answers from the game. We treated it seemed to be as like an intense scrimmage with like a lot of rotations and a lot of different variety, which is great. Like it was exactly what you would expect a preseason game to be, which of course was a little bit frustrating for me because I just want to see us play. But at the same time, I felt like I got a lot. I feel like from this preseason, I got just like a lot of good news. I would almost have preferred to get a few more things of bad news because then I would be like, if we can work on this and this, we're going to be okay. But I just kind of saw a lot of things working throughout these 3 games, and this last one specifically, that felt really good to me. What were your thoughts?
Well, I thought the rotation was interesting, but there was a lot of things that stood out to me when it came to statistics that were exciting to see because of how the rotations were, because of the subbing and the surprise. Well, not it's definitely not a happy surprise, but the disappointing injury that came to Cunningham. Mm-hmm. But the Fever shot from their field goal percentage was 43, almost 44%. Their free throws were kind of abysmal. So those 2 things really stood out to me. They also had 15 turnovers lead to 16 points, and that's nothing out of the ordinary when it comes to what's been going on in the preseason across the league. It's just something that I am keeping an eye on because there has been a lot of criticism about the turnovers for the Fever, and that's not just to Caitlin's rookie year, but just in general, some sloppiness with the ball. But again, it is preseason. We're working on figuring out where folks fit in. I really did like seeing the combination between Hull at the end of the game with Sid and Caitlin. I thought Bree Turner is really becoming a standout player for me, but I'm excited to see what the set roster will look like. I will say the one thing that did scare me immediately was when BG hit that opening 3. Mm-hmm. That was crazy.
It was.
And I know she's been working on that, but I got real worried that giant was now going to add this crazy range to her arsenal, and like who's guarding that? Who's getting in that eye line? Nobody.
Yeah, no, I felt the same exact thing when the game started that way. It felt very similar to how we talked about with Boston hitting the first shot for the Fever.
Yeah.
In the same way, it was like, oh, we're doing this now. This is concerning for lots of people. Not for us when it's Boston, but definitely for us when it's BG.
The other things that were really sticking out to me, and it's not to attack Boston, I am a huge fan of her. So when I feel like she's not performing at the level she can, having watched her play in college and her whole career now in the W, it just frustrates me. She was shooting less than 50%. She was 3 for 7, and I just don't like that for her. I know how talented she is. I know that she has the capability to have a better shot selection than that. I don't know what was going on. She looked really uncomfortable. And I hope that, again, it's just preseason jitters and just trying to figure out positioning when you have these other bigs moving around across the key at the top of the key. I'm hopeful that it was just a combination of, again, finding that comfortability. But I don't want that to become a trend for her. She's too good of a player to not be shooting more and better.
Yeah. And I do feel like Boston is the one, and last year was the one that would get lost. Not personally, but would get lost like in our shot selection and plays being called for her. She's like a hammer down there, a very like precise hammer. She's not like a one-note lady down there, but and we have these two in our front court, the Clark and Mitchell, that are just like, they're bonkers crazy. Like Michelle last year, insane scorer. This year so far in the preseason seems like she's going to be the same thing. And it felt like we would often have them facilitate stuff, and then maybe something would get dished to Boston. But whenever we did focus on her, things went well. And so I'm hoping that she won't get lost in the sauce. I'm kind of hoping that what we saw from this last game was hopefully just like a preseason thing where we did see them go through their rotations. We saw a ton of different groupings of women. It really felt like that's what White was going for, which was cool and great. But every time we would sub somebody out, it was like, come on, I wanted to see more of that happening, and I know we will.
We are beginning to see some real standout skills, though, and again, early days, but Sid Colson with 3 stills, I love Sid.
Mm-hmm.
I think she is so sneaky and so creative, and she has incredibly, she's incredible high IQ when it comes to basketball, and her hands are so fast. So knowing that she is a part of this guard lineup, our insane mixture of guards, I just feel like there's so much that they can learn from each other, and they're going to only continue to get stronger once they figure out all of these new positions and where everyone is going to fit. The thing that I'm really waiting to hear more information on, and I want to get an update sooner than later, is with Sophie going down with that ankle injury, I would hate to see the season start for her like that. And I know that we haven't had any real updates there, but she's such a firecracker, and she brings such a spark on the court, whether she's facilitating or just creating chaos. She's someone that is going to be missed, and I hope that it's nothing too serious.
Yeah. I mean, I think the last thing we heard was that after the game she said, "Oh, I'm good." Mm-hmm. They're always keeping their cards close to their chest, being all cheeky with it, and it's hard to know exactly what's going on. It did just kind of look like she rolled it like, this is me just hoping. But we'll just have to wait and find out. Another person that I feel like was a huge standout to me was Hull closing out the game specifically. It's nice to see whenever you can just fully close a game. Like, we clearly put up a good fight in order to get in the lead in the second quarter, which was huge. To see them kind of put their foot in the ground and make that happen. We saw that a few games ago also in the first preseason game. But to see us be in the lead, the other team's trying to crawl back in, and to see Hull, who in this situation was playing entirely with our bench, just put her foot down and be like, no, sorry, we're winning this game, was like, it's just nice to know that you even have that gear, and to find out early in the season that you have that as well.
I feel like people slept on her last year, and she really showed out in her unrivaled debut, but she is so strong. She is fast. She, again, someone else who has really great court vision. I'm excited to see what she brings to the table. And I don't necessarily think she has to start. She comes off the bench so hot.
Absolutely.
So I'm curious to see what Stephanie White thinks of her and where she fits in to her for her vision.
And that's so important, I think, on this team. We have a lot of talent. We're very deep. To be able to show that you can come off the bench red hot like that, that's exactly what we need. We need it all day long. I was so worried because last year she really built up momentum throughout the season, and by the end of the season, she was just shooting lights out threes like nobody's business. It was absolutely insane. And then going into Unrivaled, I was concerned, not overly concerned, but just she had such a good end to the W season, and I was like, I kind of don't want something to get ruined over there, any mojo to be lost. And then I know she wasn't the main, she wasn't featured on her team really. She was a part of a good team there, and I was just I hope that none of that shine, has kind of gone off. And turns out no, I was being silly, just being a little silly Billy.
Just a silly goose, but I don't know. When I'm looking at this roster, I'm just not. Where's the weakness? It's just I'm just excited.
We're the weakest part of this, which is, as a fan, that's what I want to be. I want to be the weakest piece of the chain.
100% fair. The criticisms that plagued the team last season, I feel like those can't even be considered when I'm looking at this team. The seniority is incredible. The freshness is incredible. It's just going to be finding who fits where. I'm not sure on the starting five, though. That is tricky.
The starting five is tricky. I still feel good, like we've said, Boston, Mitchell, Clark, Bonner, Howard. I feel good about that. I don't feel like if we came out with something else, I would be upset. I'd be like, oh, yeah, throw in one of those other fantastic basketball players. That sounds great.
Let's see what happens.
Yeah, go for it. It's great. So speaking of where people fit, we do have a final roster. What did you think of the cuts? It looks like we lost Brown, Ejim, Hall, and Jillian Aileen.
I will say I was sad to see Ejim go, but looking at the roster, there's no one I'm taking off.
No,
I just don't know where she would have. And again, it's just the cap is what it is. It does suck a lot because you do see a lot of really good talent not make those final teams. But
yeah, it'd be great
a lot of
if
things
we
happen.
Had a G League to throw Hall into to continue to develop. That would have been fantastic. But is she taking a spot from any of these other people? Absolutely not.
And that's what it is. Like I think Timpson is the one. Like when it comes to newness and overall possibility, I mean, this is a pretty young team. There are a couple of, again, seasoned veterans, but it's pretty divided between early 20s and then like mid to late 30s. It's quite the combination.
Yeah.
But I think this is a great look for them. I'm much more confident in this roster with this coach. No offense to last year, but last year's roster was concerning. There were a lot of times when injuries happened, fouls occurred, and you're just not having faith that the bench is going to step up, and that's a horrible feeling. And I've felt that as a Mercury fan. I felt that for a lot of teams where it just felt like if your superstars or your starting five were not performing well, there were very few teams that had the bench to pull through, and I don't really see that as a problem for us this time around.
No, I agree with you wholeheartedly. Last year, it did kind of feel like we were trying to, put the plane together in the air. This year, not so much. We're sitting on the runway. We're like, nice plane. Feel good about this plane.
I like the way this plane looks.
Good captain up there. She probably knows what she's doing. Let's see. So then when it comes to this upcoming game, our first game of the season, who would have thought they put us up against the Sky? They really want to make this, rivalry happen.
It's just kind of corny. As a true basketball fan, these weird imagined rivalries are so corny to me. Like, I just want to see good basketball, and I want to see the best players play against the best players, and that's it. It's not a her versus her, she and she. It's just I want to see two ballers. I want to see 10 ballers going at it for the whole game.
No, as someone who was a flamboyant fan of the Fever last year, constantly people would come up to me and be like, man, gotta hate that Angel Reese, don't you? And I'm like, no, I don't. She's fantastic. I don't know what your problem is. They don't even match up against each other they're just different. They're completely different. The teams are good matchups, fun games, Yeah. I wasn't feeling the rival, especially after Angel got hurt. I was like, okay, guys, we stopped talking about it. There's definitely not a rivalry. Their team is tanking and ours is doing great. This just isn't happening.
Right.
That being said, I'm excited to watch this game. Angel's a fantastic player that I hope that they can really make things happen on their end this year. They're definitely a young team who hopefully will be able to, I don't know.
Well, I agree. The players to be aware of are a little different for the Sky this year, and that is a lot to do with movement. But Angel is stronger than ever. She has been working with Lisa Leslie in the offseason and has increased her range. So a really big deadly weapon there, and you know she's starting. Camila Cardoso has been working out and is in really great shape, better shape than she was last year. A true center who is not afraid to get physical and knows Boston well. Former teammates, they know how to play against each other, so that's always exciting to see. Then you have these big transfers to the Sky coming from Rebecca Allen from the Mercury and Ariel Atkins, who I think came from the Mystics. And there was a lot of trades involved to get Atkins for the upcoming drafts. There's a lot of pressure on Atkins to perform, and I feel like she has been so far. And then there's the two or three exciting new players in Haley Van Lith and Maddie Westbelt. Westbelt's coming to us from Notre Dame. Van Lith is coming from 5 or 6 different colleges at this point. Most recently TCU, where they made it as I think the furthest they've ever made it into March Madness. So that's really exciting, and I think she is someone who has the potential to really bother our guards. She's quick. She likes to push pace. I think it's a good matchup for the Fever. And then the true contender is Elizabeth Williams, who was not healthy last year and is back. Elizabeth Williams may be one of the best underrated centers in the W. She is strong, she is clever, and she's fast. She is crazy fast for her height.
Well, I'm excited to see all that play out. I'm excited to hear your scouting report on each of these teams as we go through, because I definitely learned things from them. Hopefully you're bringing like our audience along with you too, because your wealth of knowledge in that regard is fantastic. I've never been much of an opposition watcher in any sport. I just like to watch my gals or my boys, and then I learn about the other teams, as they come. So we're going to be leaning on you on that. But good news is, you strong. And so we will be leaning
Well, that's
away.
That's the one thing about the W that makes it even more exciting, is that there aren't that many teams. So I I enjoy watching all the basketball. I will watch every game I can, and it's just exciting. There are some of these, I can't even really say kids because they are young ladies, but there are some of these young ladies who I've watched 4 years of college basketball. To see them get to this point, it's just exciting.
It is.
It's all happening.
Exciting is the word for it. And I'm excited for this season to just get started so we can look into that real good basketball. I'm
Real good.
real good, if you know what I'm talking about.
Oh, I know. I'm picking up what you're putting down.
Okay, good. All right, well, that is going to do us for this week. Next week, we'll talk about not preseason, but real season, real good season games.
Real good season.
And I'm excited to do that with you, Keisha. All right, thank you, and we'll see you guys next time.
Bye.